It's November 30th, 1939. Just 3 months after the outbreak of another world war, the Soviet Union has declared war on my home country of Finland. Within days, Soviet troops advanced across the nation, but they had no idea of the resistance they would run into. The -45-degree weather, -43 centigrade, would be the least of the communist invaders' concerns when they found themselves in my sights. Because I am Simo Häyhä, the deadliest sniper in history. I am the White Death. Prior to the war's start, Germany and the Soviet Union had agreed to divide up Eastern Europe into spheres of influence, and Finland landing within the Soviets' reach. Stalin quickly made impossible demands of Finland, including that we cede large amounts of territory along the Finnish-Soviet border, supposedly for security reasons, such as the protection of Leningrad, which lay only 32 kilometers from the border. My nation flatly refused, and the Soviet Union quickly declared war. With 750,000 soldiers, 6,000 tanks, and over 3,000 aircraft, the Soviet military absolutely dwarfed our Finnish military, which was comprised of just 300,000 soldiers, mostly reservists and civil guardsmen, a few dozen tanks and 100 aircraft. Stalin ordered the invasion of Finland, giving no thought to the coming winter, as he assumed his armies would roll over us long before the worst weather set in. Just as Napoleon had underestimated the Russian winter over 100 years before, Stalin too severely underestimated winter weather and the impact it would have on his army. As the unseasonably cold winter of 1940 set in and slowed Stalin's beleaguered armies down in a frozen hell, our Finnish resistance moved in to halt the Soviet advance. Knowing we couldn't match the Soviets on one-on-one basis, we adopted Motti, what today would be called asymmetrical warfare tactics. We would routinely allow Soviet forces to push deep into our territory, leaving them overextended. Then we'd attack their supply lines while running lightning raids against the Soviet flank. Frozen in by the severe weather and plagued by terrible logistics, the Soviet war machine quickly ground to a halt. But the greatest of the terrors awaiting the Soviets in the winter woods was me. An unassuming 5-foot, 1.5-meter tall farmer named Simo Häyhä. I was born in a farming town near the Russian border, and I spent my entire life in the harsh Finnish countryside. As a child, I naturally took to shooting, becoming a prolific hunter and sharpening the marksmanship skills that would make me a legend one day. In 1925, I served a mandatory 1-year term in Finland's army, where I was introduced to an M28-30 rifle, replacing my Russian-made Musin Nagant M91. Honing my shooting skill even further, I was able to achieve a firing rate of 16 shots per minute at the range of 500 feet, 125 meters. Every single one on target. After a years of service, I was honorably discharged with the rank of Upseelias Upseelev, or corporal. Years later, I joined the Finnish Civil Guard, and at the outbreak of hostilities in 1939, I was called into active service. I refused the M28-30 rifle the military provided me with though, pulling my trusty M91 out of storage instead. Immediately ordered to the defense of Pyhäjoki, me and my unit dug trenches and strung up barbed wire in preparation for the Soviet assault. That very same night, the Soviets attacked, but we were able to repel the assault. After several days of heavy fighting, we were ordered to withdraw, yet despite the retreat, we suffered relatively few casualties. My next engagement with the Soviets came outside of Suojalti, with the Soviets once more suffering heavy losses. Stalin's bloody political purges had decimated military leadership within the Soviet military, and the inexperienced and poorly led Soviet army suffered greatly in the first few weeks of the war for those purges. My extraordinary marksmanship did not go unnoticed by leadership, who soon made me a sniper. After an enemy sniper killed 3 platoon leaders and an NCO, my company commander, Lieutenant Juta Latnin, ordered me to knock that man out. I replied simply, "I'll do my best." I took off for the woods alone, dressed in thick winter gear and a body-length white hooded coat.